Hi there, this is Chef Sky again, and I came today with my very own raw sauerkraut. And this is the first time I ever made it by myself, so I'm really excited because it came out perfect. And I didn't do a how-to video, but I'm going to tell you how I made it, and then I'm going to answer a few questions that I've gotten by email that I wanted to share with my viewers, just to give some insight, because I have responded to those people individually, but I think they are important questions that I wanted to share. So first of all, I made this sauerkraut here. It has like a pink color to it, and that's because I mixed it with purple and white cabbage. And so basically all I did was cut the cabbage into big chunks, throw it in the food processor, and make it go till it was fine, super fine. And then I put it in this glass bowl. I covered it. I kind of took the fork and patted it down, and I covered it with the large leaves that you pull off when you first cut it, and you pull off those big large leaves. Wash those off and just put it right on top, and then just patted that down. Let's kind of make it tight. Then I covered the whole thing with like a cheesecloth and let it sit on my counter for 3 days. And so it fermented, and now you see we have some delicious sauerkraut. I'm going to put that down. So basically, the whole sauerkraut thing, I was not into cultured or fermented foods for a very long time. It's always come up eating raw. I mean, you're always going to hear sauerkrauts and Rejuvelac, etc. And I was always running away from it because I never liked the taste. And I finally, recently, in the last few months, finally decided that I was going to accept this because they are power health foods. And you know, sometimes you actually, when you look at Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern, you can realize that you can eat anything. Look at things that would seem gross and nasty to one group of people on one side of the world can taste delicious to other people in the world. So the tongue can be trained to like whatever it wants. Now for me, I'm not going to eat spiders and all that kind of stuff, but fermented foods is a health food. And the reason why it's so beneficial to you is it's full of probiotics, the good bacteria, it's full of enzymes, it's live cultures, and it's good for helping with digestion. I mean, all of these things, when you're eating, and I think I'm addressing mostly people who are transitioning into raw or just inundating their body with raw for the raw food challenge or whatever. But it's important to eat cultured foods more so, especially when you're eating a lot of cooked foods, because you need those enzymes to help with digestion. A lot of people say, well, I'm eating a balanced meal because I'm getting all the recommended daily yada yada. However, you're really not getting the recommended daily, even if you claim you're eating it, because it's not absorbing into the system. It's not assimilating, it's not balanced, it's not proper food combining. There's a lot of things that needs to happen in order for the foods that you're eating to actually nutrify the body. And that's why eating cultured foods is so important, because it actually aids in the absorption of the foods you eat. So it's really good to eat it with other foods. And the very interesting thing that you see the history of where sauerkraut comes from, it's always eaten with bratwurst, sausage, etc. It's always eaten with meat. And that's really interesting because meat it takes a long time to digest, and it's very the process of digestion is a long process, and it's difficult on the system. So eating sauerkraut with it, on a hot dog for example, kind of makes sense. I know for one thing, when I was transitioning, actually this goes into the questions, so I'll just jump in because I saved the questions that people sent me. Okay, so one of the questions that I got was how do I transition to vegetarian? And it's definitely a longer conversation. But I can definitely say that I decided to be a vegetarian about 20 something years ago. And in that dedication to eating vegetarian foods, it was still transitional for me over, because I was 14 years old. And it was still transitional for me to try foods, learn about nutrition, and I think that probably took a good 10 years for me to really completely understand what I was eating. And I remember hanging out with other vegetarian friends. What we would do that was so strange to me, but it's funny because I incorporated them into my lifestyle, is what we would do is we would substitute everything that was not vegetarian for something that was vegetarian. And that to me is your first start of transitioning into vegetarianism, or would eliminate it and eat it without it. So for example, if we made spaghetti and sauce, we would do like the vegetarian crumbles for meat, sauce, etc. And then I remember when I was in New York, one of my friends went to the hot dog stand, and I was just looking because normally all I would get is a pretzel, and she got a hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard without the dog. And so basically she ate a sauerkraut sandwich. And I was like, that's over the top. But I tried one, and that's what we started doing. So that would be, to me, how you transition. You just start substituting, and then as your palate changes, because of course from a standard American meat, cheesy, salty, sweet diet to vegetarian, vegan, raw is a process. I mean, some people have done it overnight and been successful because they applied the knowledge and went for it. Some people have a lot of emotional connections to food, like myself, that it takes a while. So I say I'm still transitioning. I mean, I am still addicted to the yummy standard American food. I don't eat them. Would I like them? Yes, but I really want to eat for health, so, and pleasure sometimes. Let's see, and we could talk about that more, but I did answer the lady's question when I sent it to her, and I got really, some information. A lot of it is education too. A lot of it is just reading books about becoming vegetarian, becoming vegan, becoming raw, and stuff like